Hey everybody, it's Brad and
Shane.
with the Intentionally Positive Project podcast.
I kind of like Project better.
I like project, but podcast rolls off the tongue a little better.
Well, it's IP squared, so it can maybe be one or the other.
Hey, I like IP squared.
I do too.
That sounds really
We're just
good.
gonna start saying it there, and if podcast makes sense to you, that's what it is. If it's a project to you, just call it a project.
Makes sense to me. So, Brad and Shane from IP squared. So how was your Labor Day weekend, Shane?
It was good, man. It was full of absolute insanity. I have two kids.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, well, I have two kids that have birthdays within 3 days of each other. One is 4, one is 2. So we did
all three are that close in proximity to each other?
Just two of my two oldest.
Two,
Yeah,
okay.
I have 3 folks. I'm trying to be positive with with 3 children.
Hey, we can help
4
with
and
that.
under.
Awesome.
Yeah, we can help with that. No, but it was good. It made the absolute best steaks that I've ever eaten in my life this weekend, and a lot of good things happened. Had the birthday party for the kids on Saturday. Was chaos, but very, very fun. A lot of good memories. So,
Awesome.
what about you? How was yours?
It was fantastic. For those of you that know me, I've gotten into doing driving experiences, and I was at Road Atlanta this weekend, pushing my car to the limits, and it was an absolute blast. 2 days of nothing but running around on the track as fast as I could go.
How fast did you end up going? Some places.
So I mean, you know, it's a road course, so different speeds in different areas. But on the back straightaway, I hit speeds 130, 131. So it was awesome. It was one of the most best experiences that I've had. I'm looking forward to many more of these experiences. You get out there and it's just you and your car. And of course, I had an instructor. It's a driving experience. So you know, I'm a novice. So you know, I'm in C class. So you can't really get out there by yourself until you're more experienced. So me and my instructor was awesome. I rode with him a couple times, and just insanity. You want to talk about insanity?
Yeah.
That was insanity.
130 miles an hour is insane.
Yeah. So anyway, great instructor, great time, a super group of guys and girls that I hung out with this weekend. So just had an absolute blast this weekend. I just can't wait to do more of these. So yeah, it was pretty good. So Labor Day was awesome.
Absolutely. Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to actually talk to you more about that driving stuff. So personally, I don't have the need for speed. It scares me to death, going that fast. So, my question to you is, so when you're on the track and you're doing this kind of stuff, how do you keep in control? You know what I'm saying? How are you able to handle the quickness of decisions that's required? How do you get to the point where it's just you're not making mistakes and you're able to go that fast?
That's a very good question. So these guys that put on the event, they're all they're either racers or ex-racers. The instructors have been doing this for a really long time, so it's not just throwing you out on the track. I mean, they're very safe, and they take you through a couple of kind of room courses where you're sitting down, they're talking to you about apex, track in, track out. So while A class and B class are out running, which for us was about 25-30 minutes, so about an hour class time, multiple times a day. It was Saturday and Sunday. I think we had one class on Sunday. So you're definitely sitting in a classroom. You're learning what to do, what not to do. But the reality of it is that most of us, we learn by doing. So when you get out on the track, that's definitely concerned. So, the first couple of laps, you're kind of just getting into your groove. Again, we're a novice. We all want to go. It's not really a competition, even though we're probably all competitive and we're all trying to compete against each other in the back of our heads.
Sure.
So it's about being safe, but it's also about maintaining and keeping focus. What I will say is out on the track, my first day, that was one of the biggest things was trying to maintain focus. I definitely got into a situation, probably session number 2. We did 4 sessions a day at 25 minutes, 30 minutes a run. And, you get out on the interstate, in your car, you're traveling or whatever, and you just get, I wouldn't call it fatigue, but you kind of settle in, you get comfortable.
Yeah.
There's not a lot going on. So, you kind of just zone out and you kind of just think about other stuff or whatever. And that kind of happened to me in my second session. And took all 4s off the track, went across the gravel, mowed grass, as they say, and kind of got yelled at a couple times by my instructor. Why didn't you listen to me? I was screaming, brake, 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 brake. And I'm like, I have no clue. And so I don't know. I don't know how this happened. And so after reanalyzing and discussing it with my instructor, it was just, I'm so accustomed to just getting into a car, going down the interstate and driving and just getting into, driver's fatigue, I guess, or in that zone. Mm-hmm. And after that, it was a wake-up call. So it's you're out here going, very fast, you're with a lot of other cars, you're in traffic. So it's about focus, 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 focus. You can't think about anything else except for what you're trying to do in the moment. And so after I figured that out in that second session, I progressively got better and better and better and better. It helped with memorizing the track, knowing when I was coming up to different turns, knowing when to apply the brakes, knowing when to apply the accelerator. So it's all about focus. You really have to be fine-tuned and focused into to what you're doing, because if you're not, then you'll take it off the track, and no one wants to do that.
Well, so how do you? So are there particular techniques that they teach you to maintain that kind of intense focus? And what does it feel like? How do you know when you're focused or not? I know that's a crazy question, but I feel like this can apply to a lot of different areas of our lives. Like with the car, what did you have to do?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I don't really have a good answer for you. I just know, over time, I just got better at it, and I think it was, to me, after I took all 4s off the track, I realized this is real. This is really happening. Like you're out here, for this experience. If you want to go get into a zone, go get on the interstate. That doesn't cost you anything. Is kind of how I put it in the back of my mind. Out here on the track, I'm paying for this. There's safety, there's lives at stake. I've got another guy in my car. I got other people, driving around me. So it became real, extremely fast. So I don't think that's something that you can teach. I mean, they definitely mentioned it. They talked about in the classroom, focus, fatigue. Don't do this, don't do that. It's one thing to sit in a classroom and hear that, but to actually go and experience, it's like a thrill. You know what I'm saying? Sure. It's like getting on a roller coaster ride, knowing what you need to do to not throw up or whatever it may be, or parachuting and knowing what to do, when to pull the chute. Breathing. That was another big thing that was really interesting. Was you definitely will white knuckle the steering wheel. Yeah. And then once you start figuring out, hey, I'm white knuckling the steering wheel, you start loosening it. So the thing is I think you have to go through those motions. You have to go through the intensity and realize, oh, this is what I'm doing.
That's how your body
behaves. I can back off of this. If I the thing is that, and it's what do you focus on, right? Because you can definitely focus on different things, and if you're too focused on one thing, then you're not focused on everything, right? So that was probably the biggest thing that I learned, that they kept telling us over and over and over again. Don't focus on the car in front of you. Don't focus on the brake lights in front of you. Don't focus on, 5 feet in front of you. Focus way out ahead of you. Because the thing is that the speeds that you're going, you've already in your subconscious mind seen what you're currently involved in. So you need to be looking out ahead of you so you can be predictable, right? So you know what's happening in front of you. So it was all about, around the track. I'm not sure how many out there are familiar with kind of how these courses work or whatever, but you have flagger stations, right? So in different stations, basically they're throwing like a yellow flag, blue flag, black flag, red, and those flags mean something. And so you have to be paying attention, because if somebody's wiped out or crashed or whatever, you need to know what flag that flagger's throwing to slow down or whatever, because there may be some issue up ahead. That was difficult, because you're so used to looking right in the front of your car, and just driving, but a handful of sessions, that's what I was doing, looking right in front of me. But then, by Sunday, I had figured out how to see everything and not have tunnel vision. I would say I still have a lot to learn. But second session, third session on Sunday, I could tell when I was getting in tunnel vision, and then I could start to tell myself, back out of tunnel vision, look in front of you, breathe. I started to notice these things. Like, I wasn't breathing, I was white knuckling the steering wheel, I wasn't looking way out in front of me. So just going through the motions and just doing this and getting into a rhythm, you start to know these things. You're doing these things to yourself, so you're able to back out and say, don't do that, breathe, and all those sorts of things.
Sure.
So yeah, it's about I guess not focusing on one thing, but having the capability to focus on many things all at the same time. And the only way that I was able to learn how to do that was to, number one, get out there and focus on the individual things, learn those individual things, and then be able to, as it was explained to us in the classroom, was the track is a big puzzle. And there's pieces everywhere, and we're putting the puzzle together, and at the end of the weekend, we're going to have pretty much the puzzle pieces all placed together, and we'll have it figured out. And when they were telling that to us in the classroom, didn't really understand it, didn't get it, made sense from like a sayings perspective or whatever, but it was so true. Those pieces came together by the end of the weekend, and I was sliding around curves, trail braking, drifting, whatever, having an absolute blast, just pushing my vehicle to the absolute limits. I mean, I'm sure it can be pushed much further than I pushed it, but me as a novice, it was where I felt comfortable, and I was pushing it very hard at speeds of 130 miles an hour, and then braking right when you get into a 90-degree turn is pretty insane, and then right back on the accelerator. So
it seems like you're very much like in the moment.
It was very much it was very much in the moment, but at the same time, you're also learning what they call the line, right? So when you go, they have track. When they explain it to you, it's track in, apex, track out. And basically, when you have curves and corners and stuff, again, this is not an oval, this is not a NASCAR track. These are road courses. So you're trying to create straight lines, right?
Yeah.
And so you want to be able to go through these corners and curves as straight as possible, and then you want to be able to follow the line. So you don't want to get in a bunch of gravel or a bunch of rubber or whatever. Like, you want to get in the clean spot of the track. So you're trying to go around the track and find your line, which, if you're good, is going to be the line that all the other kind of more savvy, more experts are taking around the track, because it's the line that makes sense. And so anyway, you're learning the line over the weekend. So the more and more you learn that line, that's why they tell you don't follow the car in front of you, because they may not know the line. So you don't pay. You're paying attention to traffic because you don't want to crash into them, of course. But you're not just getting in a line of traffic and just following the car in front of you like monkey see, monkey do. And a lot of times I was not following the car in front of me. I would say I had a pretty decent line running around the track. But yeah, you're learning all these things and piecing all these things together over time. So each time you get back out on the track, you're memorizing and your memory's coming back to you, and you're like, okay, I know that's for natural now. So now I can go learn something different about the track. And it'll progressively get better as I continue to attend these. I plan on, these aren't cheap, so I probably can't attend as many as I want to in a year. But definitely we'll try to attend like 3 or 4. I will definitely be back at Road Atlanta in March of 2018. And so anyway, just getting back on the track, each time you're learning new things. Things are becoming more and more natural.
One of the things that's fascinating that I hear, and again, so for those of you listening, like I was saying before, I'm not really big into like cars and racing, but one of the things that's fascinating to me is like all the parallels that exist between like with you going to the track and all the things that you're talking about and staying focused and making sure you're keeping your vision essentially focused on what's in front of you, way in front of you, to prepare for these turns that are coming up. You're aware of your present situation. You're aware of the cars in front of you. But that's not your main focus. You're adapting to those, maybe reacting as you need to, but your goal, like your focus, is that line and trying to you're not thinking about like the little like petty things right in front of you. You have like an end goal. So like I see a ton of parallels between racing and being effective with that, and being effective in life and moving towards like the goals that we set for ourselves. So it's pretty fascinating, and I think one of the a huge aspect for attaining the visions we have for our lives is maintaining focus. So yeah, it's absolutely fascinating to me.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you bring that up. We talk about this a lot. I didn't really think about it that way, but now that you bring it up, that's interesting. I could parallel that all day long. We were going to talk about imagination today, but I think we'll keep talking on this topic, and we'll talk about imagination tomorrow. But
sometimes you just got to flow with it, guys.
Yeah, hey, that works. So yeah, I can definitely see parallels there. I guess the way that I would look at it, now that I can kind of see what you're talking about, in relation to the track and stuff like that, is that if you really think about how a year goes by,
sure,
a year goes by the way a year goes by. Things are going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
There's what is it? There's spring, there's summer, there's fall, and there's winter. Mm-hmm. And those things happen every single year.
It's a predictable cycle.
It's a predictable cycle. So, the cycle goes around and around and around. Now, things change in the cycle, mm-hmm. but for the most part, the cycle is the same. So, as we grow and as we learn, we're learning things about that cycle. And so, if we can just, run through that cycle, naturally, and then, be able to look out and predict and set goals and have visions and say, hey, maybe this is the challenge that's in front of me today. Sure. Which parallel would be, hey, this is this vehicle or this car that I'm trying to get past that's in front of me today. Uh-huh. I don't even have to think about this turn or think about, what's coming up next, because I've been here, 100 times before.
Yep.
So it's about, saying, hey, set a short-term goal, and how do I adapt, and how do I get past this? And then, on the track, you're being more strategic, more, kind of, more technical in the curves or when braking and this and that and the other. And then all of a sudden you get in a straightaway and you get like a point by, and then you pass the car, and now you're way ahead, lapping the track. So I can definitely see that in life, where you're kind of doing the same thing. So you're setting short-term goals, and then you're setting long-term goals. Because the long-term goal on the track is ultimately win, right?
Sure.
You want to be out front, and you want to have the best lap when you finish.
Well, I noticed a lot of other parallels with the things that you said as well. Life is a complex thing, and there's a lot of factors that kind of mix together to reach ultimately where we're wanting to reach. Like you were saying, before you even get on the track, right? You're in a classroom, and your instructors, like people who have gone before you and are much more experienced, i.e. mentors, like that could be like the parallel, right? Like in your life. They're telling you all the things that you're going to experience already on the road. Like, you got to make sure to breathe. You got to make sure to focus, like, farther down the track before you get there. Don't focus on the car. Don't focus on the brake lights in front of you. Like, you need to be... But, like, when you get out there on the track, right? When you get out there in life, you can listen to all these, you can remember all the things that you've listened to in, like, these videos or, like, these... these mindset exercises. A lot of like the people that we talked about, like Tony Robbins or Earl Nightingale or Napoleon Hill. But it's like when you get out there, it's a different story. So I think it's important to remember that, hey, you don't have to understand and completely digest and apply everything all at the exact same time. I think it's important to keep those things in your mind, go out there and live your life, try to apply the principles, but be aware of like how is my quote unquote body reacting to this situation. When I'm coming up to this kind of a curve in my life, or like there's a straightaway here, how am I behaving? Like am I breathing shallow? Am I super tense? Am I just focusing on the car in front of me? Like what are the things that are preventing me from attaining my goals, or having a better run in this particular lap? Like what are the things that I can do to chip away at my time? And I think some of those things include like if we develop healthy habits daily, especially like in the morning or the evenings, and just making sure like we take 3 minutes a day, 4 minutes a day, and remember how to breathe correctly. You know what I'm saying? Just remember how to be focused. Our minds are going crazy all the time. We're always focusing on the little distractions all in front of us. I'm thinking about this. I got to get this done. My kid needs this over here. I got to make dinner. What am I going to do about my job tomorrow? I can't solve this problem. Like, there's things going crazy. But I think it's important for, to just take a step back and work on like, okay, these are like the really intense parts of the courses here. How do I just calm down? And I think one of the ways to do that is by finding ways to just breathe. It applies, to the car as well, and figure out how to get centered and how to not be so distracted by the little things in front of us. What are the techniques that we need to develop to see farther down the course? Notice where we're at currently, right? Like we got to notice the brake lights. We got to notice the cars in front of us. We need to be there in the moment, but we also, there needs to be a balance too, but like knowing where we're going. That's one of the reasons I was want you to keep talking about the track, man, because it's a fascinating, I think there's a lot of fascinating parallels.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this will segue nicely into our next episode, which will be about imagination, and that's this vision and being able to how to look out, and how you are techniques that you and I use to be able to look out, and kind of see a vision and set a goal. But yeah, one thing I will say, I mean, those are all great points. But one thing that I will add to that is, a lot of this stuff, you especially with the internet in this day and age, we're taking in a lot of information.
Absolutely.
So it's very difficult to understand or realize like what is the good, what is the bad. Like you're reading all day long, you're reading all night long. So it's like, well, which one do I act on? Sometimes you got to take a couple steps back, and I kind of felt that way a little bit. When I was getting out on the track, especially in the classes, they were throwing these turns at you. They hadn't even gone over the flags yet, but then I jump in the car and the Inspector X about the flag. I'm super nervous. I'm anxious. I want to get out there. I want to do this, but I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I wreck my car? What if I spin off the track?
Sure.
All these different things, And so anyway, it's really overwhelming. It's kind of like information overload, kind of the same thing, trying to draw a parallel there. And once I kind of figured out, no, you have to take these things one step at a time.
Sure.
And then once you start taking these things one step at a time, you've got this person that's, telling you what to do, what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. And then when you're getting off of the track, you're analyzing and you're reassessing it, and you're talking about it with your instructor. And even that took a couple of sessions before we kind of got good at talking to each other. I can, think about how that works and just daily life with a mentor.
Sure.
So I think it's about picking those individual things out of the sea of information that we're looking at on a daily basis. What are the things that I want to focus on now? What are the things that's going to help me today? And then get good at those things. And then I think you'll realize that you'll get good at those pretty quickly. And then not only that, if you don't have a mentor or mentors, you should seek out some mentors.
Yeah.
To run these things by. And as you're going through and doing these things, don't try to do them alone. Try to have conversations with your friends, your trusted friends, your mentors, your spouses, whoever that person may be. But explain to them what you're doing and what issues that you're having are maybe what you thought you did right, and they can help you adjust. And say, well, maybe if you do it this way, or next time try it this way, and then you'll be surprised how quickly you come up to speed.
Sure.
On that one thing that you're trying to focus on, and then you can move on to the next thing. I think in this day and age, we try to take on too much. We burn out too fast, and we lose focus really quickly because we're fatigued. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing that I think the question that you asked earlier, how do you do that? How does it happen? And I think going back to focus was I had to learn how to focus, and I definitely started out by saying, hey, I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to be super awesome. You know what I'm saying? And you get out on the track and it's just like, dude, I'm a freaking amateur. You know what I'm saying? Like, awesomeness will come in time. And then I had to start kind of teaching myself how to break things down into small chunks. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that comes naturally for some people.
Well, I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. I think it's difficult to just admit to yourself, it's like, man, I'm an amateur at this right now, and that's okay. You don't have
sure.
And I don't know where we get it from. I'm definitely that's one of my weaknesses. I feel like is when I start something new, I expect to be the best at it from the get go, and it's just like that's caused. Hey guys, that's caused a lot of problems for me. So if you're not sure if you want to approach that way, just don't. Let me just stop you right there. Yeah, but I think there's a lot of wisdom in what you said, and just learning to accept that. Hey, I'm a beginner at this. In a lot of ways, I don't know what I'm doing. So let me just start one step at a time and focus on the fundamentals. So, that's one of the things I'll definitely take from this conversation.
That's good.
So let's talk, we're almost at the 30-minute mark here. Let's just kind of recap what we talked about, maybe some practical takeaways of things that we can apply to our lives. And really get something out of this. So for me, one of the things I've taken, based on what you said, is cultivating the skill of being able to focus. And for me,
I think that's a big one.
Yeah, I'm going to start trying more is even I'm going to take like 2 minutes or 3 minutes in the morning deliberately, and I'm personally just going to try to focus on breathing. One of the most fundamental things I can do, where my thoughts and everything is just centered on the breath coming in, breath coming out. I think that will that's one of the things I'm going to try to start doing.
Yeah, and I think another thing is focus is figure out your techniques around focus. Digest it into small things that you can focus on.
Sure.
And then let the puzzle pieces come together, and then you'll be able to see the puzzle. Then you'll be able to focus on the puzzle in its entirety, because you've worked on these individual pieces. You've figured out where they all go, and then you have this picture that you can step back and look at. So I think it's about, not trying to overwhelm yourself.
Yep.
It's saying, hey, this is the big thing that I want to focus on, but how do I, dissect that down into little bitty pieces, tackle those little bitty pieces by focusing on them, and then eventually being able to zoom out and see that you focused on all these things individually. You've learned how to do each one of these things individually, and now you can zoom out and you can focus on the whole picture. So being able to, digest in small pieces your focus, coming up with different focus techniques, and it's like eating.
Sure.
We put food in our mouth and we don't just swallow it whole. We break it down, we chew it, and we break it down into small digestible pieces. So kind of the same thing. Being able to digest and step back from the bigger picture and break everything up into smaller digestible pieces to focus on, and then step back and look at the big picture.
One of the things I'll also take away, just kind of along the same lines, way that kind of makes sense for me to look at it is, it's like if you're trying to, grow a plant, right? Let's say you got like some vegetables in your garden you want to grow, or like some basil or something like that. You could buy a basil plant, right? But we're talking like, let's start at the seed level, right? What you do when you go buy some seeds, so like some like crops or whatever you want to grow, what do? You plant them, and you don't like freak out because like, hey, where's my plant? Where's my plant? I mean, why isn't it here yet? I want the corn. I'm really craving corn. Oh, why can't it? You don't freak out and do that. No, what everyone does, because we're rational people, is we plant the seed in the ground, and then we water it, and then we forget about it, essentially. Maybe each day we have a routine where it's just like, it's not like we're spending 5 hours like watching the soil and watering it every couple seconds in this particular way. No, it's just like we nurture it a little bit each day, and then over time, and before we even realize it, bam, there's a plant there. And before we even know it after that, there's fruit on it.
Well, it's something we probably should have touched on, and maybe this is a topic for next episode or whatever, but patience.
Absolutely.
That's a big one. So in all of this focus talk that we talked about, I think because of the speed and track, we kind of forgot about the patience part. But hey, we're learning as we go here, just like everyone else. So patience. I think patience is definitely a topic we should touch on in the future.
Yeah, but it's just taking, like you're saying, little chunks at a time and letting it evolve how it's going to. So
cool. Well, we're at the 30-minute mark, so I hope everyone enjoyed this. Getting some good feedback. So any comments or any feedback or any topics or things you guys want to know about us or anything, please put in the comments. We've got a new site that's out there that we launched, intentionallypositiveproject.com. Go check us out there. There's links off to our audio podcast and our YouTube podcast. We eventually want to start doing vlogs so you can actually see us. We'll start doing interviews so you can kind of see visualizations of things that we're talking about and stuff like that. But yeah, go check us out on the web. We've also published audio version out on YouTube. That'll take about, not YouTube, I'm sorry, iTunes.
iTunes,
So we're waiting to get verified there, so maybe 5 to 10 days. But we have the feed set up at our website, so you can definitely set it up in Overcast or Android or iOS or whatever your favorite podcasting program is. You can definitely set up, and we'll push our podcast to you instead of you having to go out and find us in YouTube.
So subscribe. Let us know what you like and what can be improved, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much for listening.
All right, talk to you next time.